Jorge Mandes is now fully focused on getting the Manuel Ugarte deal done, an update on Anthony's charges, PSV in for Malacia, and loads of exit news to go through, plus all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video, and let's jump straight into it. So we're going to have to talk about Manuel Ugarte again for what feels like the 999th consecutive day in a row. But Ben Jacobs has said that PSG is prepared to sanction a loan with obligation for Manuel Ugarte to join Manchester United. Talks positive, but PSG in no rush and happy to let negotiations run into next week if needed. Then we've had Graham Bailey come out saying that Manchester United are progressing in talks with PSG for Manuel Ugarte. PSG have confirmed via Mendes that they are now open to the idea of a loan with an obligation. Mendes has been tied up hammering out the João Felix deal, but now that that is in place with Chelsea, he can concentrate his efforts on Ugarte to United, and talks are progressing. So that's an interesting update from Graham Bailey. Graham Bailey can be a little bit hit and miss, though, so I would we'll bear that in mind when we go through the news. But that would make sense for me because that has been if you've been following that situation, what an absolute clown show. What a clown show for João Felix and Chelsea. So apparently Jorge Mandes has been tied up getting that deal sorted. That now that's finalised and pretty much done, he's now fully focusing on getting his other client Ugarte to Manchester United and getting that deal over the line. So hopefully with that, we may start to see a little bit of movement. But we've been saying that for 6 weeks. And then the Telegraph have come out saying that PSG have offered Manchester United the chance to sign Manuel Ugarte on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy. United would prefer to buy Ugarte now, but there remains a gap in valuation of around 10 million euros. There is growing optimism an agreement will be struck. So it's one step forward, 2 step back with Ugarte at the moment, isn't it? We've got deal getting closer, and then there's still a gap in valuation. This is one that's just going to keep dragging on and on. I think eventually a deal will be done. I think they're just trying to thrash out what sort of deal it is. Seems like it might be a loan with an obligation to buy. That's what's hot at the moment, but we've had news on that before as well. So the whole Ugarte situation is, it's frustrating, isn't it? Being honest, and even just bringing you the news. I was prepping all my videos and stuff, and I was like, oh God, more Ugarte stories and news, and it is getting a little bit frustrating. But I keep mentioning this on previous videos, we're going to have to go through some pain in order to undo the mistakes of the past, and this is just one of those things. We're just going to have to suck it up, deal with it, because if we get Ugarte at the right price and on our terms, that is a statement, and that sends a message to the rest of the kind of transfer industry that United are not going to be mugged off anymore, and that's just as, if not more important than getting Manuel Ugarte in my opinion. So I'll keep bringing you updates when they come out, and it's just a waiting game. I think it could be one that gets done really quickly now, or it could be one that literally gets done at the last minute of the transfer window. There's just no because we've got loads of different credible sources effectively saying different things. So keep an eye on it for you. It does look like it'll, I think personally, my personal opinion, I think it'll eventually get done. Whether it'll be a loan with an obligation to buy, that's possible. Or if PSG don't reduce their asking price, which is unlikely they're going to do at this stage, going off the recent report. So personally, I think the deal will get done. It's just ironing out the kind of details of it. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. There's been another McTominay update from Manuel Ugarte where he said, as much as Jose Mourinho wanted to reunite with him, McTominay was not keen on the prospect of relocating to Istanbul. So remember, there was loads of stories regarding McTominay going to Turkey. My stance on that has always been I don't think the Turkish clubs have the money to get McTominay. But going off of Manuel Ugarte, he's also saying that McTominay is not keen on moving to Istanbul either, which is fair enough. We know the from the reports earlier today that McTominay didn't want to go to Fulham either. It's looking likely his preferred destination would be Napoli, but Napoli need to sell players to get the funds to buy him because United are not loaning him out, and I don't think they'll reduce their asking price because they're quite happy to keep McTominay. So a lot of that will depend on potentially Victor Osimhen leaving Napoli as he wants to, because that then will give Napoli the funds to go out and buy a few more players. So we need to keep our ears to the ground regarding Victor Osimhen. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And now let's move on to Anthony. So news has come, obviously one of the reasons why we couldn't sell Anthony, or we potentially won't be selling Anthony this summer, is because of his ongoing court cases. So there's been a report coming out from Brazilian outlets saying that more than a year after Anthony appeared in the press on social media being accused by his ex-girlfriend of offending, assaulting and threatening her in Brazil, the Sao Paulo police investigated the complaint and concluded the investigation on Monday without indicting the player for domestic violence. DJ Gabriella has also said at the time that the Manchester United striker had attacked her in England. This investigation, however, is being carried out by the English police and is not yet complete. So if you remember, Anthony was accused of domestic abuse allegations from his ex-girlfriend, some in Brazil and some in the UK. So the Brazilian charges have been dropped effectively. He's not been found guilty of anything there. So it's still pending, though, in the UK. So we're still waiting for that part to be concluded. That might be one of the reasons why we're not moving on Anthony. Plus, you know, the ridiculous wage that some of the Egypts at United gave him when we signed him, 200 grand a week from 20 grand a week, which is ridiculous. But obviously, if he gets cleared of those charges, that might be potentially one of the stumbling blocks about teams buying him. But I think it's going to be too late for this transfer window anyway, because there's just not that much interest in him either, because he's been, you know, shite at best, let's be honest. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, there's been a story today actually regarding Malacia. So this one was interesting, saying that PSV have abandoned their plan to try to sign Tyrell Malacia amid concerns over his fitness. Now, it's not come from, so it came via Sport Witness, via a Dutch news outlet. I don't know the credibility. I think they were pretty good, though, when it came to the Van Nistelrooy kind of news this summer. So could be a bit of credibility behind that, which I thought was really interesting, because coincidentally that's come in as a timing where Laurie Whitwell has said that United are not going to be going for a left back this summer. So is there kind of coincidence in that? Was it potentially behind the scenes United were looking to remove Malacia, whether it be on loan, which wouldn't be a bad option because he's been out for nearly 18 months. He's not going to come, even if he comes back in October, he's not going to be fully fit and fully match fit. And I think he's going to pick up other injuries. So maybe there's like a bit of coincidence in that. I'm not saying there is. That's not been reported, but we've had news that we're not going for a left back. And then this story came out that PSV were planning to sign Tyrell Malacia. So is that coincidence? Who knows? Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then let's quickly go through the rest of the news. The rest of the news I've got for you is massively regarding exits. United are starting to hopefully accelerate some of the exits from the club. So the first one is Radek Vitek is close to joining Austrian side BW Linz on loan. He's a good young goalkeeper. I actually thought he was quite impressive in pre-season again as well. So happy that he's going out on loan, because that'll be a good for him to get some game time under his belt, because I was actually quite impressed with him from what I've seen in pre-season. So that's a good move, I think, to go away, get some experience and see what he's all about. Obviously, there's been noise today regarding Hannibal. I mentioned it this morning, around sources saying that Burnley might be interested in him, and we've had a few more credible sources come out confirming the news. So Stephen Railson said that Manchester United would prefer a permanent sale of Hannibal maybe before the transfer deadline. Burnley are interested and they're exploring a permanent deal or a loan with an obligation to buy, but United's preference would be to sell him permanently. Richard Fay, who's a good source, said Hannibal maybe is open to the possibility of joining Burnley and is eager to play regular football at this stage of his career. And then Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Burnley are interested in a loan with mandatory buy clause for Hannibal Maybe. Talks have started. Not close or agreed yet, as terms of the deal are not the ones expected, but Burnley have reached out to United and player side, so there's a bit of credibility in that story. And Hannibal looks like potentially going to Burnley. There's been talk of around like 10 to 12 million pounds, which I'm going to take with a pinch of salt, because there were stories the other day about Palestri going for like 8 to 10 million euros, and we ended up getting 6. So I'm not going to get overly excited about the fee we're going to get for Hannibal. Maybe, I think, just for his own sake, it's important he moves on and plays football at his age. He had a really bad loan, didn't he, last season? It was absolutely terrible for him, which is a shame, because we were all hoping that loan would go well. So either he might prove himself as a potential first team player, or at least increase his value, and it just absolutely went tits up and was a terrible loan for him. So we're just going to have to take what we can get for Hannibal. He's only got a year left on his contract as well, so it's one of these where, it's probably not going to be the most expensive thing, I think, but we'll wait and see, and I'll bring you any news when it comes out. But let me know what you think about that one in the comments. And then a few other exits. Obviously, I brought you news this morning about Maxi Oyedeli. Is in talks to join Polish side League Warsaw. Will Fish is close to a move away to join Championship side Cardiff, and Facundo Palestri also looks set to leave United and join Greek giants Panathinaikos. That all came from Chris Wheeler. Chris Wheeler's really been a really credible source this summer. So I did say in this morning's video that I wanted to wait for a bit more credibility around some of the exits, and I think we've had a few more stories, bit more noise regarding a few more exits, which, there's not really any surprises on there, to be fair. But it is definitely trimming the kind of squad down. There could be, if everything goes to plan, right? I did a little bit of mathematicians, saying that it could be 16 players, or maybe even more, that could potentially be leaving the club this summer. So we've got confirmed is Greenwood, Bissaka, Cambuala, Alvaro Fernandez, Donny van de Beek, Rafael Varane, Martial and Brandon Williams, but then also potentially Christian Eriksen has been offered to Ajax. That came from Laurie Whitwell this morning. Obviously, the Hannibal news I've just brought through for you. Will Fish is going to Cardiff. Oyedeli is potentially going. I'm leaving as well. Vitek brought you the news there. Palestri's going to Panathinaikos. Scott McTominay, we know there's interest in, and there's still question mark over Sancho, which could be 16 potential players going this summer, which would be insane. And that's not even including ones that we would maybe still like to sell. Victor Lindelof, for example, he's injured now though, so I think he's unlikely to leave due to his injury, which is unfortunate. Bought you that the other day. Casemiro, I still think they might look to move on if they got a good offer for him. Anthony, obviously, he's one that potentially they would look to move on if they got an offer for him. There is just no interest in him as well, which would take it up to potentially 19 exits. That's insane for Ineos's first summer. Are they, there's an argument to be said, are they the main ones that we need to move on? No, but I don't think you can't get rid of all of your first team players in one summer. And if you can get some of the fringe players out of the way and then bring in replacements or bring in alternatives, then your first teamers that we want to move on become bench players and they fall down the list. And that's how you improve your squad. Like, look at what's going to happen with McTominay when everybody, Maguire, when everybody's fit. I think Maguire's had a decent couple of years for United, or definitely last season. I think he was good, and he started this season quite well as well. But we've brought in Yoro and De Ligt, so all of a sudden we've improved our squad massively, but we've still got Maguire there as a fourth or fifth choice centre-back, which is better than having Will Fish, if he's not up to the required level by United, coming through. So I hope that makes sense. So I think they are doing bits, massively impressive. With the exits, it's just shit that the fees we're getting for our players, when you look at what other clubs are selling some of their fringe players for, like 20, 25 million and stuff, and we're getting like £500,000 for Donny van de Beek and stuff. But that's because of the wages and because of the mess that Ineos have inherited, and they are looking to change that. It's just going to take time, and we need to be a bit patient with it as well. And eventually I think we might get back to that position where we do start selling our youngsters for decent fees and decent prices. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And that is you all up to date with the latest news and transfer news. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I do enjoy reading them. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.